Okay, so I did my project on Mennonites and rather their beliefs and choices of lifestyle compared to Romanticism, in particular the interests, beliefs, and influences of the Romantics. I'd like to begin with a couple of quotes. First, from Vern Troyer. The Amish like to live a very plain lifestyle, the way they think God intended. It sort of brings you back to Little House on the Prairie days or something. And also this quote from Warren E. Berger. There can be no assumption that today's majority is right, and the Amish and the others like them are wrong. A way of life that is odd or even erratic, but interferes with no rights or interests of others is not to be condemned because it is different. As you may have heard briefly from the quotes were some descriptions of the Amish, who are similar to Mennonites. Both quotes represent the same general lifestyle of both groups, but we may think that all Mennonites are more similar than they really are. In some regards they are, but when you really get into it and realize all the different types of groups, there are many differences, but all originated from different areas in Europe, such as Germany, Switzerland, Netherlands, and so on. They all were Anabaptists who followed Mennonites. Mennonites was a religious leader who eventually became an Anabaptist after being a Roman Catholic and had many followers in the mid-1500s. But by 1527, a statement of faith was wrote, known as the Scollethum Confession, which briefly states voluntary adult baptism, excommunication for unrepentant church members, communion shared by all other believers, separation from the world, rejection of violence, choosing to suffer rather than to cause others to suffer, and forbidding the swearing of oaths. Later on, some Mennonites moved directly from Europe to America, but some headed to Russia or Poland, but by the 1800s moved to North America. All the different times they moved to North America meant they developed different dialects, traditions, and beliefs. And also because they occasionally interact with the outside world, slowly newer technologies and ideas are introduced into their daily lifestyle. Some of the different groups are the Amish, who are a group that in the 1600s split apart from the Mennonites, for they felt they were not being strict enough, and went back to the original beliefs, which were quite more strict, took practices in church much more seriously. The next subgroup is the Old Colony Mennonites, who are known as the most conservative of all Mennonites, but are very similar to another group called the Conservative Mennonite. The next group are the Old Order Mennonites, who felt the main group was straying off from their original path. And lastly, there are the Evangelical Mennonites, or Modern Mennonites. They are people who live as most Christians do, but may dress slightly different and may not pursue a secondary education, and are also committed pacifists who are themselves nonviolent. The aspects of nonviolence, excommunication to the unrepentant, separation from the world, and choosing to suffer rather than to cause others to suffer is what truly makes them a mover and a shaker, as they changed the way many believe and to this day still remain in the same category. There are many ways the beliefs and practices of Mennonites connect and link to the beliefs and interests and influences of Romanticism. First of all, Mennonites believe that they are part of the world, but not of it. Some are very strict, and conservative groups avoid the use of things such as cell phones, public transportation, automobiles, electricity, modern farm equipment, and the list goes on. Many other groups, although, may have a diesel engine to run their farm equipment or machine shops and so on. Generally, though, Mennonites do their best and are of the world as little as possible. This is because they have a strong belief in what God commanded in the Bible, and that was to be part of the world, but not of the world. This means to not be like other worldly people are. As some other worldly people often swear or drink alcohol or have relationships involving sexual behavior, all while being married, and participate in many other sinful activities, according to the Mennonite beliefs. So the man, Menno Simons, took many of the commands in the Bible very seriously and wanted for there to be none of his followers, including himself, to be of the worldly behavior. Although some aspects of their lifestyles may be considered to the extreme, such as not using technologies or being part of large factories with other worldly people working within them. This relates to one of the influences in Romanticism. This influence was the Industrial Revolution. In Romanticism, this was an influence because it destroyed much of the natural world and created greed. Mennonites relate to this because they value nature and are very much against greed, as their eyes see it as sin. Additionally, both greed and Industrial Revolution are of the world and not seen as being obedient in the eyes of God. Mennonites believe in what the Bible says. And in Genesis, which is the first book of the Bible, the book is begun on saying how the earth was created as well as the universe. Mennonites believe that God created everything, including the universe and the earth. So because of just that belief, they have a great respect for the earth and the universe as a whole. Also, God says that we as humans are to subdue the earth and be stewards of the earth. This means we are to care for the land and make good use of it, but in a way that is sustainable also. As they obey the laws and commands of the Bible, they try their best to be stewards of the land they run by, for example, running their lands very usefully and efficiently. For example, if a farm has a bush on it, they make use of it by collecting sap from the maple trees, or they cut down the dying trees and use that to heat their houses. They do their best to raise chickens and cattle or whatever other livestock they have on pasture, and the better land they'll use to plant their crops. Romanticism relates to their belief of taking care of the land because one of their interests was wild nature, the landscape through which its beauty and power arouses through the sense of wonder, reverence, and awe. This relates because Romantics did in fact value the land and very much appreciated the land and its beautiful scenery, as they also had interests in the universe as a whole being a wonderful place, or the physical environment being very wonderful and fascinating. Therefore, in the nature aspect of both Mennonites and Romantics are very similar, because they both value nature as beautiful and want it to be and want its beauty to remain and stay sustainable. In the Bible, more in the New Testament, violence is discouraged. In fact, Jesus Christ said to be peaceful instead of wanting for people to inflict pain on others, and to instead be respectful and loving. He also said, if others hurt us, we are to turn the other cheek, meaning we allow them to continue, and we do not respond in a violent manner or in anger. He encourages his followers to be a peaceful people who are slow to anger. Mennonites follow Jesus' words by being a group of peaceful people who are slow to anger. Mennonites would much rather suffer than be a group who causes others to suffer. And they understand the great potential of humans and the value of human life. This relates to Romanticism because a large portion of the beliefs Romantics had were the value of human life. For example, the belief that human beings are wonderful due to their complexity and variety, or that humans have infinite potential. Both are very similar to that of what Mennonites believe because both understand the great value of humans. And both believe humans are beautiful creatures, which are all unique and different. So as a result, both views discourage violence against other humans and view human life as something which should be taken seriously. Today, there are millions of people who call themselves Mennonites. Most of the people today are in North America, but many others are in Europe or have moved to Asia, where they all practice roughly the same main beliefs, but many groups have a great deal of differences in their lives. And each of the different levels of obedience as they believe. But one thing links them all together, and that is their place of origin and major beliefs, such as remaining a peaceful people. Many people show disrespect to Mennonites because they feel Mennonites aren't treating others as good enough, which in some cases could be true. They do believe that being a part of this world has a negative effect on their faith and obedience with God. But generally, they do not disrespect people in the outside world because they all do believe human life is valuable and generally will communicate with others who do not have the same beliefs. I believe they should be treated then as we treat other humans, and that is with respect and kindness. I also believe that Mennonites' strong beliefs in nonviolence and acts of pacifism, many people who are nonviolent may be affected to continue their train of thought and belief in nonviolent manner. Also, the people who are violent and opposed to pacifists may be influenced to reduce their violence. People could also be influenced to take care of their land more and make more efficient use of their land by witnessing how Mennonites manage their forests and farmland. In contrast to that, maybe as an act of rebellion, people, especially some who are raised in strict lifestyle, could act in a violent manner and begin to pollute excessively as a way to show the strict communities their disrespect for the beliefs that they have. Therefore, the lifestyle of Mennonites is quite different than the average individual in North America, as they are pacifists, not only of the surrounding world, but only a part of it, and the interests and beliefs because of their appreciation for human nature and the creation of the world. Because of their bold choices and beliefs, they will be known and understood for many years in the future, as long as their communities continue to exist. Thank you.